I never imagined that my own birthday, something I never made a big deal about, would become the night my daughter-in-law completely lost control and turned our entire family upside down. Even now, when I replay it in my head, I still can't understand how everything escalated so fast, how her screams filled the house, how my guests froze in shock, and how every accusation she hurled left me standing there, feeling like the bad guy in my own home. I keep asking myself whether I somehow triggered it, whether I missed the signs, or whether she had been building up resentment for months waiting for the chance to explode. So I need you to tell me honestly, was I wrong for what I did that night, or was this meltdown entirely on her? Because after everything that happened, I genuinely don't know anymore. My story starts long before the birthday party, long before the cake was cut or the guests arrived, and even long before she married my son. To understand this disaster, you need to know who we all are as people, our personalities, our flaws, and the cracks that were already forming in the family long before that infamous night. My name is Rebecca, I'm 58 years old, and I've always been the kind of person who prefers peace over drama. I don't like conflicts, I don't like arguments, and I certainly don't go out of my way to provoke anyone. My son Michael is 32, soft-spoken, thoughtful, and very hard-working. He has always been the kind of man who avoids confrontation even more than I do. Now my daughter-in-law, Emily, she is complicated. She can be sweet, polite, and charming in front of others, but behind closed doors, she struggles with jealousy, insecurity, and a need to control situations far more than she admits. When Michael first brought her home, I liked her instantly. She had this nervous smile, like she desperately wanted to impress us. She dressed neatly, she spoke respectfully, and she seemed to adore my son. But even then, I sensed something brewing beneath the surface. A little tension in the way she spoke, a quick flash of irritation whenever she felt someone disagreed with her, and an especially sharp reaction if she felt overlooked. I didn't want to judge her based on small things, so I ignored it at first. After all, nobody is perfect, and relationships take time to settle. But once they got married, the real patterns began to show. The first big moment was when she accused me of undermining her, just because I gave Michael his favorite casserole during a family dinner. She pulled me aside after everyone left and said, with her voice trembling, "I know you don't like me. I know you think I'm not good enough for him." I was stunned. I had never said anything like that, never even thought it. I tried to reassure her, saying I only cooked the casserole because everyone liked it, but she didn't believe me. Still, to maintain peace, I apologized anyway, even though I wasn't sure what I was apologizing for. She accepted the apology like she'd won a silent battle. After that, any time my son spent alone with me, phone calls, lunch visits, even a quick stop to check on me, she would question him relentlessly. Why did she need to see you? What did she say about me? Did she ask if we're having issues? Michael would brush it off, but I knew deep down it was affecting him. He'd become more withdrawn, more careful with his words. I could see he was walking on eggshells around her. And yet, he loved her deeply and didn't want to rock the boat. Months went by like that. Little tensions, small misunderstandings blown out of proportion, and a growing sense of unease every time I interacted with her. But things were manageable until it came to my birthday. Every year I host a simple, small celebration, nothing extravagant. Just family, a few close friends, and a nice dinner. This year, Michael told me that Emily wanted to take over planning part of it. Honestly, I was relieved. I thought it might be a chance for us to bond, maybe work together, maybe fix the strange distance between us. But I quickly realized her idea of helping wasn't really helping at all. She didn't ask what I liked, she told me what I needed. She didn't ask what I wanted to serve, she declared what she thought would be aesthetic. She criticized the guest list. She argued about decorations. She rolled her eyes at my menu. She even suggested I change the time of the party to what was more convenient for her schedule. But the real issue wasn't the planning, it was the control. She didn't want to help me plan my birthday. She wanted to plan her version of my birthday. Michael kept telling me to just let her handle it. But this was my day, my home, my guests. And I'll admit, the more she pushed, the more uncomfortable I felt. A few days before the party, things reached a breaking point. I had bought a simple cake, just like I do every year. Chocolate on chocolate, covered in rich fudge, my absolute favorite. When Emily came over and saw it in the fridge, she stared at it like I had brought home a pile of garbage. "This isn't going to work," she said flatly. "Why?" I asked, confused. "Because it looks cheap, and it's not the kind of cake people take pictures of. Everyone is going to be posting tonight. We need something prettier. I blinked at her, trying to understand why my birthday needed to be Instagram-friendly. But before I could argue, she announced she would order a different cake. One in pastel colors covered in edible flowers, the kind that costs half a paycheck. I told her no. It was firm, it was final, and it was the first time I had ever truly put my foot down with her. She froze, eyes narrowing just slightly, and I could tell she didn't like being told no. She left that day without saying much, but her silence felt heavy. The morning of the party, I woke up early, nervous but determined to enjoy my own birthday. I cleaned the house, prepped the food, arranged the decorations I chose, and set up the table. Everything felt warm and personal, exactly the way I wanted it. But the moment Emily walked through the door, carrying 2 giant bags and a box from some upscale bakery, my stomach dropped. She had bought her own cake anyway, and decorations, and specialty napkins, and matching plates, and even insisted on rearranging the entire dining table layout. She was like a tornado moving through my house, muttering under her breath about everything I should have done differently. I tried to stay calm, but I could feel the tension rising inside me. My guests arrived gradually, my sister, my nieces, some old friends, and a few neighbors. Everyone was cheerful, greeting me with hugs and warm wishes. The house felt alive. But Emily was pacing around like she was directing a movie set. She kept touching things, adjusting things, critiquing everything. My sister whispered to me, "Why does she look like she's the host?" I sighed. I don't know anymore. Dinner went smoothly, surprisingly. Everyone chatted and laughed. Even Emily stayed quiet, though she wore a tight smile like she was just waiting for something to go wrong. When it was finally time to bring the cake out, the cake I bought, the cake I had loved since childhood, I felt a wave of happiness. It was my moment, surrounded by people I cared about. But as soon as my niece opened the fridge and reached for the cake, Emily stepped forward sharply. "No, not that one." The room fell silent. Every single eye turned toward her. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. Michael looked mortified. My sister looked confused. And Emily looked furious at me. "We're using the cake I brought," she said, her voice clipped and cold. I swallowed hard. "Emily, this is my birthday. That cake is mine." She shook her head as if I were being childish. "Your cake doesn't fit the theme. It doesn't match the colors of the table. It's not presentable." I was embarrassed. Not just because she said it, but because she said it in front of everyone. My friends, my sister, my neighbors, all witnessing my daughter-in-law scolding me in my own home on my own birthday. I tried to remain calm. "Emily," I said softly but firmly, "I appreciate everything you did, but we're using my cake." Maybe it was the tone of my voice. Maybe it was the firm boundary. Maybe it was the humiliation she felt. But whatever it was, it triggered something deep inside her. She exploded, not just irritated, not just upset. She completely lost control. She slammed her hand on the table, making the plates shake. "You never appreciate me," she screamed. "Nothing I do is ever good enough for you. You hate me. You want me to look bad in front of everyone." The guests gasped. Michael jumped up, trying to calm her down. "Emily, stop," he whispered. She shoved his hand away. "No, I'm tired of pretending everything is fine. She always undermines me. She always makes me feel unwelcome." Everyone stared at her like she had grown a second head. I was frozen, shocked, humiliated, and speechless. "Emily," I tried to say, but she cut me off, yelling even louder. "Don't act innocent. You've hated me since the day we met. You always try to control Michael. You always want things your way. And now you think you can embarrass me by refusing the cake I bought. You're selfish." I felt heat rising to my face, my chest tightening. My hands trembled. Never in my life had someone spoken to me like this. Not in public, not in private, not ever. The room was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. That's when she grabbed the expensive cake she brought, marched across the room, and slammed it on the table so aggressively the frosting splattered. "This is what we're using," she shrieked. "Whether you like it or not." People stood up from their chairs. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." My niece covered her mouth in shock. My sister looked like she was about to intervene, and I felt completely humiliated. My eyes burned, but I refused to cry in front of her. My voice shook as I said, "This is my home. You do not speak to me like that." She laughed in my face. "Your home, please. Michael pays more bills here than you do. Technically this is his home, too." The audacity, the cruelty, the absolute disrespect. My son looked horrified. "Emily, what are you doing?" he whispered. But she wasn't listening. She was spiraling, muttering, pacing, shaking, eyes wild. "I'm tired of being treated like an outsider. I'm tired of being judged. I'm tired of you making me feel like I'm never good enough." She pointed at me like I'd committed a crime. "You want everyone to see me as the crazy one, right? You want everyone to think I'm the villain." She was crying now, but they weren't normal tears. They were angry, explosive tears. I felt the room spinning, and for a moment, all I wanted was to disappear. Everyone was watching me, waiting for my reaction. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to fix this. I didn't even know what she wanted from me anymore. My birthday had officially turned into a battlefield. And in that moment, I realized something heartbreaking. Nothing I said would calm her down. Nothing would satisfy her. Nothing would make this right. She wasn't angry about a cake. She wasn't angry about decorations. She wasn't angry about tonight. She was angry about everything. Every insecurity, every resentment, every imagined slight, everything she had bottled up for months was exploding violently. And she chose my birthday, my home, and my family as the stage for her meltdown. Everyone turned toward me, waiting for me to react. But what could I even say? My voice cracked as I whispered, "Emily, please stop." She stormed toward me, pointing her finger inches from my face. "No! You stop! You stop treating me like trash! You stop pretending to be innocent! You stop embarrassing me in front of everyone!" Michael tried to pull her back, but she twisted away. "Don't touch me! You always take her side! Always! What about me? What about how I feel?" I felt tears forming, but I blinked them away. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. I stepped back, shaken, breathless. "Enough," I whispered. She glared at me with a hatred I still don't understand. Then she turned to the guests and shouted, "I hope you all see what she's really like now." That was the moment the entire party collapsed into chaos. Guests grabbed their bags, murmuring apologies. Some avoided eye contact, unsure what to do. Others hugged me briefly, whispering, "I'm so sorry." Michael stood frozen, unable to move, unable to speak. And Emily, she stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls. My birthday was ruined, my family was shaken, and my heart felt like it had been stomped on. Before I continue the rest of this story, what happened after she stormed out, what decision my son made, and how the entire family responded, I want to ask you something. Because this was the moment I stood in the middle of my destroyed birthday party, wondering what I could have done differently. So tell me honestly, before I reveal the rest, what would you have done in my position? Would you have spoken up sooner? Would you have let her use her cake just to avoid conflict? Or would you have reacted exactly the way I did? Because this is the moment where everything changed, where the choices we made afterwards shaped the future of our family. And I want to know your thoughts before I tell you what came next. When you're ready, I'll share everything that happened after. How the night spiraled even further, the confrontation that followed, the shocking secrets that came out, and how this fight didn't just end the party, it changed relationships forever. When the front door slammed and the echo faded through the house, the silence that followed felt heavier than anything I'd ever experienced. It wasn't just quiet, it was suffocating. Guests stood frozen, some of them exchanging uncomfortable glances, others pretending to adjust their jackets or check their phones so they wouldn't accidentally meet my eyes. I felt numb. My ears were ringing, my throat was tight, and I could still hear her shouting replaying in my mind like a broken tape. My own birthday party had turned into a public meltdown, and all I wanted to do in that moment was curl into a corner and disappear. I remember gripping the edge of the dining table, just to steady myself. My legs felt weak, and my stomach was in knots. I had never been screamed at like that before, certainly not in my own home, not by someone I had tried so hard to welcome, and not on a night meant to celebrate me. My sister stepped toward me first. She placed a gentle hand on my back, her voice barely above a whisper. "Rebecca, are you okay?" I tried to answer, but my voice cracked. Nothing came out. She understood without me saying a word and gave me a soft hug. "This wasn't your fault," she murmured, but her words barely sank in. My guests began to leave gradually, each one offering quick hugs, apologetic smiles, and murmured sentiments like, "I'm so sorry," or, "Call me if you need anything." I nodded, thanked them, and tried to keep myself composed until the last person finally stepped out. When the door closed behind my final guest, the weight of the evening hit me all at once. I sank down onto a dining chair as if someone had cut my strings. Michael stood across the room, pale and shaken, staring at the door his wife had stormed out of. It looked like he didn't know whether to chase after her or come back inside. He looked torn apart, stuck in a place where no matter what he chose, he would lose something. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to steady. "Go after her," I said. His eyes shot toward me. Mom? I repeated softly. She's your wife. She shouldn't be alone right now. He hesitated like he wanted to argue, but I could see the worry etched on his face. So he left, jogging toward his car, calling her name even though she was already gone. When the door shut behind him, I finally felt the tears break through. They came hard and fast, like a dam bursting. I didn't cry because of the cake or the decorations. I cried because my heart felt shattered. The insults she hurled, the humiliation, the fact that she saw me, someone who had never tried to hurt her, as her enemy. I cried for the relationship I wished I had with her, for the mother-son bond now caught in the crossfire, and for the terrifying feeling that no matter what happened next, something in our family had broken for good. After a few minutes, my sister helped me clean the table, despite me telling her she didn't have to. The ruined frosting from Emily's smashed cake smeared across the table like a reminder of everything that had gone wrong. When my sister finally left, I sat alone in the dim dining room for a long time, staring at the quiet mess. My birthday candles were still sitting in their unopened package beside the untouched chocolate cake. My cake, still sealed in its box. I hadn't even gotten to make a wish. Hours passed before Michael returned. I heard his car door slam outside, and when he walked in, he looked drained. Emotionally, physically, completely defeated. His tie was loose, his shirt was wrinkled, and his eyes were red like he'd been crying or close to it. He stopped in the doorway and said nothing for a long moment. I finally asked, "Is she okay?" He nodded slowly. "She's at her sister's." I swallowed. "Did she calm down?" He dragged a hand through his hair. "Not really. She's still upset. She said you embarrassed her." I felt a sharp twist in my chest. "I embarrassed her, Mom?" Michael whispered, his voice breaking slightly. "I don't even know what to think anymore. She's saying you've been freezing her out for months, that you dismiss her ideas, that you don't want her involved with the family." I closed my eyes in disbelief. "That's not true." "I know," he said quickly. "I know it's not true, but she's convinced of it, and I don't know how to get through to her." I felt the exhaustion seeping into my bones. "What do you want to do?" He looked down at the floor, shoulders slumped. "I don't know. I feel like I'm failing her, and failing you." That was when I realized how deeply this situation was hurting him. I stood up, walked over to him, and wrapped my arms around him. "You're not failing anyone," I whispered. "You're stuck between two people you care about. I'm not angry at you. I just want this to stop hurting you." He leaned into me like he had when he was a little boy. "I don't know how to help her," he murmured. I hesitated before asking, "Did she say why she reacted like that?" Michael swallowed hard and nodded. "She said she feels like she's always competing. That you and I have some connection she'll never understand. That you don't accept her." I felt a pang in my chest. "Of course I accept her. I've tried," he nodded. "I told her that. But she said she doesn't feel it. Her insecurity was deeper than I realized. Deeper, possibly, than anyone could fix without serious help." After Michael left to get some rest, I cleaned what was left of the dinner mess, wiping away crumbs, resetting chairs, and scrubbing off the dried frosting smeared across the table. I washed dishes with hot water burning my hands, but I didn't stop. I didn't want to stop. I needed to keep moving, because if I stopped, my thoughts would catch up with me. Hours later, I sat on my couch in the dark, thinking about every interaction I'd ever had with Emily. Had I unintentionally made her feel unwelcome? Was I too cautious around her? Too polite? Too formal? Did my attempts to give her space come across as coldness? It was so hard to tell, and that uncertainty, questioning myself over someone else's unpredictable emotions, kept me awake all night. The next morning, Michael called. He asked if we could all sit down and talk. Him, Emily, and me. I agreed, even though my stomach twisted into knots thinking about facing her so soon. 2 days later, they arrived. Emily walked in with her arms crossed tightly over her chest, her eyes puffy from crying, her expression tense and closed off. She didn't hug me. She didn't even look at me. She sat on the far end of the couch, legs crossed away from me, her jaw clenched. The air felt thick enough to choke on. Michael sat between us like a buffer, holding his hands together anxiously. "Okay," he began softly. "We need to talk about what happened." Emily scoffed under her breath. "What happened was that your mother disrespected me in front of everyone." I felt that familiar sting again, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Emily," I said gently, "I didn't disrespect you. I told you the cake I bought was the one I wanted to use. That's all." Her eyes narrowed. "You rejected my help. You humiliated me." "I didn't reject your help," I said calmly. "But it was my birthday. I wanted this celebration to reflect the things I loved. But my cake was better, she snapped. It looked better! It fit the theme! It was more presentable! I took a deep breath. It wasn't about the cake. It was about you ignoring my wishes. She stood up abruptly, pacing the room. You never wanted my help in the first place. You just pretended to. You've always looked down on me. Her voice cracked, and for a moment I saw something vulnerable in her eyes. Something raw, something hurting. Emily, Michael said softly, Mom has never looked down on you. But she makes me feel like she does, Emily shouted. Tears filled her eyes again. But these tears weren't explosive anger. They were emotional exhaustion. I can't read her. I can't tell if she likes me or hates me. I can't tell if she approves of me or just tolerates me. And every time I try to do something nice, she acts like she would rather I just stay out of the way. Suddenly, the pieces started coming together. This wasn't about the cake, or the birthday, or even the party. This was about her feeling insecure in her place within our family, feeling like an outsider, feeling like she had something to prove at every turn. I softened my voice. Emily, I said slowly, I never wanted you to feel unwelcome. I'm so sorry if something I did made you feel that way. She froze, staring at me in disbelief. You're sorry? Yes. I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm sorry we didn't talk sooner. I thought giving you space was the respectful thing to do. I didn't want to overstep. I didn't want you to think I was intruding on your marriage or your decisions. Her expression flickered. Confusion, relief, and fear all mixed together. I wasn't trying to exclude you, I continued. I was trying to be careful. She sat down slowly, her shoulders loosening just a bit. Then why don't I feel wanted? I took another deep breath, feeling tears prick my eyes. Because we haven't learned how to understand each other yet. And that's something both of us need to work on. Emily didn't speak. She stared at the floor, her chest rising and falling rapidly like she was fighting back emotions she didn't want to show. The silence hung in the air until Michael finally broke it. Emily, what you did at the party that wasn't okay? He said softly. You hurt Mom. You embarrassed her. And you scared people. Emily winced. I know, she whispered. I know I messed up. Why? He asked gently. Why did it get so out of control? She took a long breath, wiping her eyes. Because I felt like everything I did was wrong. I worked so hard to make your mom's birthday perfect. I wanted her to love it. I wanted her to see that I care. I wanted everyone to see that I'm capable. And when she rejected the cake, it felt like I was being rejected. Like everything I did was pointless. A painful silence filled the room. I didn't know how to respond at first. Hearing her say that felt like a punch to the chest. Because I never meant for her to feel rejected. Never. I finally said, Emily, I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know you were carrying all of that. She nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. I know it doesn't excuse my behavior. I know it doesn't make it right. I broke. I couldn't hold it in anymore. You scared me, I admitted quietly. Emily looked up at me surprised. I didn't mean to. I know, I whispered. But it hurt. A lot, she nodded again, her lips trembling. I'm sorry, she said so softly I barely heard her. I really am. I didn't want to ruin your birthday. I didn't want to yell like that. I don't even know what took over me. Michael put his arm around her, and she leaned into him, still crying but no longer angry. Just human. Just flawed. Just overwhelmed. I felt myself soften even more. Because despite everything she did that night, she wasn't a monster. She was someone battling insecurities she didn't know how to handle. And unfortunately, I became the target of all those emotions. I reached over and gently touched her hand. Emily, I forgive you, she blinked, stunned. You do? Yes. I don't want this to break us. I don't want this to define our relationship. But we both have to communicate better. Both of us. She nodded slowly. I want that, she whispered. I want things to be better between us. Then let's start fresh, I said softly. No more assumptions. No more guessing. No more bottling things up until they explode. She gave a small, fragile smile. Okay. The tension in the room eased, replaced by something gentler, something like hope. But the night wasn't over. There were still wounds to heal, trust to rebuild, and communication to strengthen. Over the next couple of hours, we talked openly, truly openly, about our misunderstandings, our worries, our expectations, and our fears. Emily admitted she feared I would take Michael away from her emotionally, the way her own mother-in-law once did to her brother's wife. I admitted I feared intruding, or being overbearing. We discovered that both of us were acting out of fear, just different kinds. And slowly, painfully honestly, we began stitching the pieces back together. By the end of the conversation, things weren't magically perfect, but they were better. Real, honest. Emily hugged me before she left that night. It was small, shaky, but real. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "Thank you for giving me another chance. We'll figure it out," I promised. After they left, I sat alone in the quiet house once again. But this time, the silence didn't feel heavy, like a storm had finally passed. Over the next few weeks, Emily genuinely tried to repair the damage. She visited more often. She apologized again, privately, sincerely. She helped me cook dinner one night and even asked for some of my recipes. We laughed, we talked, and for the first time since she married into the family, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could build a real bond. The healing wasn't perfect. She still had moments of insecurity. I still had moments of uncertainty. But we communicated, we tried, and that made all the difference. But here's the part that surprised me most. 1 month after the disastrous birthday party, Emily planned a small dinner for just the three of us. Me, her, and Michael. She cooked, she decorated, she bought a cake that looked eerily similar to my favorite chocolate one, and she said, "This is your redo birthday. The one I should have given you." I cried. She cried. Michael cried. And in that moment I realized something important. Not every conflict ends in destruction. Sometimes, it becomes the breaking point that forces everyone to grow. Sometimes, a painful night becomes the foundation of something stronger. Sometimes, forgiveness is more powerful than pride. And sometimes, people who seem like enemies are just scared hearts waiting to be understood. Looking back, the night of my birthday will always be unforgettable, but not because of the meltdown. Because it pushed us to talk, to heal, to rebuild. And today, Emily and I are not perfect, not by any means, but we are better, closer, more honest, and more understanding of each other's wounds. In the end, I learned that families don't break from conflict, they break from silence. And once we stopped being silent, everything changed. If you watched all the way through, thank you for being here with me. Like this video if you were on my side that night, subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments what you think about everything that happened. I'll see you all in the next story.